Welcome back to the Jagged Edge. It has been a while. I am no longer as depressed as I was last Monday. Javal couldn't make it. He was with family. Javal, have you been since the couple weeks I've talked to you?
Terrible stretch, dude. I remember you called me just last week. Obviously was the Texans game, which was a debacle, and then Damian Lillard got traded to Milwaukee, and then to make matters worse,
Mm-hmm.
on top of that, Drew Holiday got traded to Boston. So as a Heat fan, I'm like the two teams I just don't like the most in the East just made trades with the same GM. So if Joe Cronin, if you ever hear this, I will smash your kneecaps with hammers if I ever saw you. But and then on top of that,
I,
UCF blew a 35-10 lead. So yeah, that was great. I actually was in that game at halftime, and I had to buy a guest ticket since I didn't have student tickets. So at least I
oh
left. I
no.
left at halftime, so I didn't see the full game. That would have if I would have watched the full game, then I would have just been a complete pit of misery. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was a pretty rough week until Sunday when our beloved Jacksonville Jaguars actually kind of just dominated really for as kind of I kind of feel like the scoreboard doesn't really show how well the
it
Falcons move the ball from time to time, but the fact the Jaguars got to a three possession lead and then held on to it, good stuff, honestly.
reminded me a lot of the Colts game where
Hmm.
the scoreboard looked a little bit more because if you take out the touchdown the Colts scored, they only had 14 offensive points. But
Hmm.
then there were times you could have went for field goals, they didn't go for it, and
Hmm.
they didn't get on 4th and 1, especially that last stretch near the red zone at the end of the game when they had four chances to go for a touchdown and didn't get it. So the point total is a little misleading, but hey,
Hmm.
it's better for the stats. So
Exactly. And the only thing that I will criticize, because we are gonna be going a bit on tangents today, because we're not really on a Monday, but this is also not a preview for the second London game, that we still only put 16 points up on offense last week, and it's just gotta be better. And I think they acknowledge that. I think the most damning drive where I was really most upset about was starting at the Atlanta 25, I think, whenever Cisco got his interception. And they went for it on fourth down and they just couldn't convert on another short yarder situation.
still a little sad Cisco didn't house it. If Cisco housed that, his DMs would have already even just getting the pick is great, but if Cisco
Yeah.
housed that too, back to back pick sixes would have made my spirit levitate.
Oh,
But
absolutely. Especially since it was punched out. That was the sad part that the Falcons guy actually like got there, kinda. I think it was a punch out more than he just fumbled the ball on the way to the end zone.
still has an interception on the stat sheet, which is great. But yeah, you're going back to how the offense is still, trying to figure things out. I think the one steady thing is Ingram's kind of gotten a very solid usage, like especially in the second half of last week's game. But I mean, even now, I think he's only behind Laporta in terms of just receiving yards by a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
So even last year, he really didn't have a hot stretch until like to end the year, like those last few games, especially that last Tennessee game where he
Yeah.
had, 11 catches, 152 touchdowns. So to see him start the year off on a much better note is good to see. Kirk had another good game statistically, I think 8 for 84.
Yeah.
Um,
12 targets, like a very healthy chunk of targets, not the most on the team last
He
game.
had probably the most important catch. Besides the Ridley touchdown, he had the most important catch in that 4th and 6 to
Hmm.
set up the Ridley touchdown. So, they're still spreading the ball around a lot. I mean, even Ridley, he only had two catches, but he did have a huge pass interference. So that
Yeah.
won't go on the stat sheet, but that set up a field goal drive for 40 yards. So imagine if he caught that. It basically like three catches for 70 something yards and, a touchdown would be
Yeah.
look a lot better, but he still was able to do a good job. The team's
Especially, yeah. I mean, he would have to go up against AJ Terrell. I would say he's a top five, top 10 corner on his best day. And so the fact that, yeah, there was blown coverage on his touchdown, but the fact that he didn't drop the touchdown like he did a week ago, that set up the Jaguars super well. It could have been last Sunday's, it could have been what the Texans game could have been if the Jaguars jumped off to that 7-0 start. But now that they did start fast, you know, we got the result we needed. We put the pressure on the Falcons. Desmond Ritter, less said about him, the better. I'm not going to criticize quarterbacks, but he just hasn't had a good second year in this NFL, in this NFL start. And
I
well,
I mean, I will say he did look better in the second half.
hmm
I think the Falcons' offensive line really wasn't doing him a ton of. Obviously, Josh Allen had the huge day.
hmm
Even, I think Trevon had a. I don't want to say a underrated day, but he had a sack. Even more important than his sack
yeah,
on the fourth down throw, like late in the game when the Falcons were driving. This is basically the play that sealed the game for the Jags
hmm
was the fourth down play when they threw it to London and Herndon was able to get him out of bounds. Trevon did a good job of pressuring him so that he had to throw it up higher so that Herndon could push him out of bounds. So really, you know, even though Trevon had a sack, that was probably his most important game of the day, just being able to help blow up the play. So,
yeah,
he still obviously people are going to look at the Hutch comparisons right away, but for a guy who's, as a long-term project, I do think even though he hasn't quite set the league on fire right away, I think there's some noticeable improvements where, when he's winning, he's able to impact it more. It's just a matter of being able to get more wins essentially. Because last year I think this problem was not only was he not winning those pass rushes, but when he was winning, he wasn't getting a ton of sacks or like getting high impact pressures. And I think now, even though his pressure rate itself hasn't spiked up, he's being able to convert more pressures into sacks and then
hmm
just be more productive because he already has 2 sacks this year in like 4 games, which
yeah.
I mean he had 3.5 all of
Last
last
year.
year, so he
It
he's
doesn't
on
matter
pace.
if they're like the most underwhelming sacks possible. Two is better than like 3.5. And it's like with the Josh Allen stuff too. People like claiming why do we even pay him? Like 6 sacks is 6 sacks. He doesn't really get a bunch of help in that pass rush. In the NFL, he's tied for top of the list with TJ Watt and Khalil Mack, who also had a huge game last week too. So, you can't really you know, say, the context of the stats. Sacks are sacks, and if he keeps it up, if you want to be that ridiculous person, he's on pace for what, 24 plus sacks if he continues this pace. So like, hey,
Yeah, he just needs to have a 3 sack game, just
every
consistently
other
every now
game,
and then. Yeah, and
every
he'll
other
be fine.
game. Yeah. I mean, I'll take it. Those games aren't gonna really, truly happen as much in the NFL. But we'll take the solid start because we need sacks as we can get right now with the lack of pressure on the outside. And especially, we don't know how long it'll take for Smoot or Devon Hamilton to get back into this offense. But, it's just I hate that it feels like we're biding time for those players to come back just because of such a lack of confidence outside of Trayvon and Josh Allen outside of those edges.
I mean, yeah, Abdullah's had a little bit of some flashes. Obviously, hasn't had a sack yet, but
Yeah,
I
more
feel like
pressures than
he's.
our boy, Mr. Guru.
I didn't see how many pressures that. Oh gosh, 4 sacks away. I didn't
I
see
mean, it
any
still hasn't moved. It hasn't moved since he got his sack against the Chiefs. So
first on sack Guru watch, but I didn't see. There was a tweet where it had the amount of pressures. I think Josh had like 15 or 16. Javon had 8. And Chason had 4. I don't know how much Abdullah had. If I had to guess, maybe like 2 or 3. So,
but in like a fraction of the snaps that
oh
Chason had.
yeah,
So
we'll see
It's
if the
like I
bet ever
wonder.
plays off.
Yeah, I wonder when they're just gonna give Abdullah more snaps over Chason. I get Chason was your first round pick. I know you didn't bring him in, but because he was such a high leverage pick, I don't know if that's the reason why he's getting snaps on that field. But I just feel like sooner rather than later, you just gotta take the L and just play the guys to just play the person that's producing more pressure on the outside during those scenarios. I get you want to keep guys like Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker fresh throughout this course of a long season where you could be in that postseason spot later down in the year. But it's just really frustrating to watch as a Jags fan for more questions than not again going into week 5 when it comes to both the pass rush and I'm not going to criticize the offensive line because they played a lot better game. Benching Ben Barch for Tyler Shatley did kind of make a difference. And we'll see what the rotation looks like with Cam Robinson coming back either this week against Buffalo or next week against Indianapolis.
I think he's going to. My guess is he's going to play because he's in London with the team.
Yeah.
So, and I think he was able to practice. So, my guess is that they would put Cam, which if they do what they did in preseason, it probably is going to be Cam at left tackle and Walker at left guard. Which to me, once again, unless you know Cam is going to be here next year, doesn't make sense. But they because Cam hasn't played left guard at all.
Hmm.
I understand because he's the veteran, he gets the dibs, but I just still think his skill set is better at guard than tackle to me. But we'll see, because that's really the only outside of maybe having Cooper Hodges for depth. That's probably the only way the offensive line gets better is
Yeah.
just once Cam is back, and even then, you know, how high is Cam really going to help this team? If he plays at that level he's played, which is like an average left tackle, because the really thing is Walker hasn't been the problem. Like he's been the best offensive lineman. So it really just matters if you want to move your best offensive lineman from left tackle to left guard, or that's the one thing to me where it's like Walker's been the one who's been the most consistent out of all the offensive linemen. I think he hasn't allowed he's been very good in terms of not allowing pressures. So I just think he played fine at guard, but also is it worth, to tinker when you could just try to have Cam at guard? Like just wondering what does the coaching staff think would be better, but we'll see. I mean, if Cam plays well at left tackle, that's great. Obviously, if he kind of struggles, maybe they might move him back outside. I mean, I will say for Cam, it's not a great matchup because the Bills do have a pretty deep defensive line. So next
And
week will be.
Von Miller also is back into the rotation as well. He's starting to practice. I'm assuming he'll get like limited snaps Sunday, if I had to guess.
I think he can, he doesn't have to travel. He should just stay. London's such a far flight, for his knees.
Give him like a week, like the Rams are gonna do with Cooper Cup or whatever, before thinking about activating him from the pup list or IR wherever he's at.
Basically. But I mean, that's really the one big storyline this week is how the offensive line shuffles. Because I am a little bit curious if, I obviously didn't watch like intensely just to see how the O line plays as a whole, especially individually. I'm wondering if they keep Fortner at center because if they're not afraid
Hmm.
to bench Barch, if they think hey, we want to be able to be stronger on the interior, just help more help with the inside runs. I'm wondering if maybe they have the offensive line be Cam at left tackle, Walker left guard, Shatley at center, Scherf right guard, and Anton. I could see it.
Yeah.
I just don't know how because if you don't have Fortner at center, you don't really think he can play guard because he's smaller. So
Hmm. Javal, you okay?
and just
Oh, okay.
how do how do they see the offensive line is the question because the play calling definitely shows to me that they're not trying to hold the ball they just want to get the ball quick. So I don't a lot of Jags fans have been complaining about the play calling because yesterday, Sunday's game, Trevor was just taking what the defense gave him, a lot of quick check downs. It was a lot like the Colts, just they didn't have as many shots. They really only had like the one shot to Rayleigh blown coverage, and then there was like the end zone throw he had to Hasty. That was close. Like that was
Yeah.
if he Hasty would have called that, that would have been nuts.
Or the fourth down play where he had was it like Christian Kirk that got open or whatever, or before a field goal where Christian Kirk got open. There's like a couple of plays.
I
Kirk
mean,
got
Kirk
open.
Kirk was open, but I think Trevor was scrambling to his right.
Rolling.
Kirk was
Yeah.
going to the left. So I would have been a tough throw to make. So I'm
Yeah.
not even too mad. I think to me, what the play calling, it just the main question I have is, well, A, is it mainly Doug or press? Because I feel like it's a good combination of both. It gets
Yeah.
collaborative effort. I really don't think it's just press calling plays and doing things that Doug wouldn't approve of. I think
Mhm.
all like even if press is calling the plays, it's more so like Doug approved plays a lot of sense. So I don't think it's all press's fault. And I think a lot of the short yard, like the nature of the offense is just, we know our offensive line isn't great. Let's just try to get the ball quickly. And there was another stat I wanted to pull up where it's like Trevor's average depth of like target or A dot when he
Yeah.
wasn't pressured was like 4 or 5 yards, which is like not very great. But then when he was under pressure, it was like 18 yards down the field. So he's creating the explosives when the offensive line is getting pressure, and then when it's not, he's just being
Checking it
efficient,
down. Yeah.
which isn't a like it's definitely a solid way. It's just it's hard to contain drive after drive on efficiency when, it only takes one penalty or one, missed time plays to just mess up a drive. So hopefully they can find more of the right balance between finding explosives and efficiency because even like the Bengals, Jamar Chase's rookie year, they're just having a bunch of go balls down the scene, like, down the sideline, and he was
Hmm.
averaging like 18 yards a catch, something crazy. And then
Hmm.
the next year, the Bengals teams are like, we're gonna play them deep. We're gonna, put two safeties over the top, and not let them burn us. And then so they had to go to more of an efficient, just quick passing game, and it worked for them. So they obviously the Bengals aren't great right now because of Joe Burrow's health, but just an example of how as an offense you have to find that switch between okay, now we just want to distribute the ball, get a playmakers, got our guys in space, send them on after the catch, versus do we have Trevor Lawrence, Calvin can get open deep, guys can get open deep, but let's air it out. That's going to be the biggest X factor in how quickly they find the right balance, and
Hmm.
hopefully they find it sooner than later. I don't know if you saw the Bills play, but they look pretty good.
Yeah, I don't want to get too much in the Bills game, but I don't know, I want to be quietly confident. I feel like we do match way too for some reason. I don't know, it's just because of like prior matchups or whatever, but kind of like how the Texans have our number. For some reason, we always have Buffalo's type of number, and the fact that we have already a week in London leading up to the game, and Buffalo gets to travel later on in the week to London, I think that does give a slight advantage to Jacksonville. Now, whether or not, we can
Mhm.
protect Trevor Lawrence and force Josh Allen to make mistakes like he did against the Jets game, that the only game that they lost this season is, better said than done. Because you're in it for a dogfight if you're gonna be playing against a team like the Buffalo Bills. But if the Jaguars defense shows their performance like they did against the Chiefs, it's just up to the Jaguars once again to try to produce points at offense, especially since Trey White, ruptured his Achilles, unfortunately for Buffalo. It just has to come to Jacksonville to try to actually take advantage of what they have in front of them. Whether that is if Ridley will finally get able to have more plays where he can make a play down the field, 20, 30 yards down the field, or if they can keep finding guys like Ingram and Kirk into those shorter intermediate routes to get 8, 9, 10 yards a catch again.
Also think we'll see if Zay's back this week, which
I'm
we don't
pretty,
know anything
yeah.
yet. I think because of it seems like feels like he's been close the past
Hmm.
couple weeks, to playing. So I'm under the assumption that he's going to be back, but we don't know yet. We know Loy hasn't traveled, so he's going to be out again. So I mean, Muma looked. He had, the one highlight where Bijan destroyed his ankles, and I know people were crapping on him. I mean, to be fair though, Bijan.
Is, yeah, ridiculous. He's so
After
good.
watching that game, I think Bijan is legit like a top three running back in the
I
NFL right
think
now.
I think a lot of my friends like I'm gonna draft Bijan as early as possible. If I'm like a top three, top five pick in fantasy football, I might just take Bijan just for how good
I
he
targeted him
looks.
in like every league I could because I just knew. Sorry, I know. Sorry, it's getting on a tangent, but I just knew Bijan was going to be a special playmaker, and just watching the way he moves, he is not a human being. It's just so everyone was trying to crap on
Yeah.
Muma for that play, and it's a great Bijan highlight reel. But hey, Muma
Lowest
did
of
that.
lows, highest of, yeah, a lot of like two pass deflections, I think, too, coming off of blitzes. Lowest of
Muma did
lows, highest
that.
of highs. Yeah.
He didn't even allow the first down. He still helps at least make Bijan slow down enough so that
Hmm.
Cisco could get the tackle. So,
Exactly.
we'll see how Muma looks again next to Foye. Um,
Oh man.
obviously, when you draft a backup linebacker
In
with
the
a
third
third pick,
round, yeah.
third round, or you want to see what he can do when he's on the field. So
Hmm.
I'm just glad Muma wasn't a complete disaster, able to make some plays. I think that was a pleasant surprise. Obviously, I don't think he's bad, but I think with Lloyd, his main issue is just being in the right place. With Muma, his issues, I think, because he didn't play as much.
Hmm.
Not to say he was perfect, but I think there was just the sample size itself was a little bit lower, and even when he did play, I think he could have improved on his like just tackling and strength a little bit more. So
For sure, for sure. And it's just a big matchup again. I feel like, I'm not gonna jinx it, but going from facing Bijan to James Cook and what is it? Who else are there? I know they have another running back there, like
that
Damien
Damien
Harris.
Harris,
Yeah. Going from like Bijan and Algier to just Cook and Harris is like a kind of not, it's still a drop off. Not gonna underestimate the Bills running game because what you gotta watch out for is Diggs, but you're confident Tyson Campbell can make a plays or on him. So it's just really Darius Williams, who has been phenomenal covering outside this season. I think
Yeah,
I'm the
just
most
take
underrated
away the
player.
Texans tape, and then
Yeah.
just yeah, Darius has been lights out.
Yeah, so like him against Gabe Davis is probably the biggest matchup to look up for next week. And then also Trey Herndon, who's, after like a kind of shaky miscommunication riddled game against the Texans, he really, made a couple plays, like we said. I mean, he did allow the only touchdown to Drake London, but Drake London is I think he's also a special player.
That one, I will say that was a very great play call by Arthur Smith because
Hmm.
Tyson was lined up to Drake London pre-snap, and
Hmm.
then they had a little switch release to get Tyson off of Drake London. So I think it was just a really good play calling, and Herndon versus like a 6'5" receiver, there's not that much he can do. So
We're kicking my ass. Sorry for yawning. Jesus Christ. I just back and forth, back and forth. Oh man. First day back at work this week's been awful. And there's my tangent for today. But yeah, I mean, defense phenomenal again. Offense got to do better. I mean, that's just really it's the same thing, but instead of an L, we took a W, double digit W at that. So we'll take it. We can't really be too picky as much as we want to be. Special teams too, not a disaster class either. Kick
yeah,
the ball out
we
of bounds
actually.
because Cadero Passion's back there. Just kick it out of bounds. Don't overthink it. We'll take him at the 25 and just play defense.
Yeah, I mean, I will say it's like 4 games in. And it's funny because, last year, after 2 games, we were also 2-2. And I think the feeling at the time last year was like, we're really ready to make some noise.
Yeah.
And then this year, people are thinking we should be better.
Hmm.
This is very funny. Um,
What a year
so
makes, yeah, from the same type of record. It's just different vibes around, because next week is definitely the biggest test to see, where the season could end up. I mean, last year it was that Texans game that obviously was a disappointment last year. Next or this coming Sunday is going to be big test against another AFC contender. So if you really want to be AFC contenders, you want to show out and you want to take advantage of a team that's also kind of. I mean, both teams are hurt. It's the NFL, but you want to make a statement against a team that will probably be there at least in a divisional round coming into January.
me, it's very funny because if you would have said that the Jags defense is playing really well and the Jags offense is still out of sync,
Mhm.
everyone would have been actually like, what? And it's still funny because I think both areas have room to improve. I mean, the defense, the thing with it's a very feast or famine defense,
Mhm.
guys, where they'll go down the field. And even like the drives, like you're saying versus the Colts and the Falcons, where the box score didn't reflect how the defense actually played. They're allowing some plays, but they make plays not only when they matter, but the most important thing, they're able to force turnovers. Because outside of every game of the Texans game, which just feel like a complete aberration because the AFC South is full of stupidity. Um, like outside of every game, they forced 3 turnovers. So I think the biggest thing last year was that they forced turnovers. So the fact they're continuing it when turnovers itself isn't a stat that can translate year after year because turnovers are just generally fluky. The fact that they're
Mhm.
still able to force turnovers is huge. So that's really going to be important because, you know, even if your defense itself doesn't shut that down every single time, just being able to steal a possession or two or three can make a massive difference, especially, if the offense really gets clicking. So the defense, I think it still has ways to go, especially once Smoot and Hamilton get back.
Mhm.
Um, we'll see, how the linebackers shake out and just the pass rush. But I think the defense is probably good enough to where, okay, like once if slash when the offense really gets rolling, the defense is going to even have more of a lead and they can, try to force more turnovers and really start to get to the passer.
Yeah, this defense just seems like a see ball, get ball type of defense too. You know that they're trying to make plays. Even guys like Darius Williams, he dropped a second big opportunity in that game too. It's like these guys are in a lot of the times they're in the right spot at the right time. So shout out Mike Caldwell for getting these guys looking, like a pretty solid group. It's like not even solid, but even like a hopefully a pretty good group, and it can be sustainable for the entire season.
Well, we'll really see how the defense how everything holds up with that. And you just, even if the defense regresses a little bit, if the offense can more than make up for it, which
Yeah.
I think it still has the potential to. I mean,
Yeah.
we know how talented Trevor is. We've seen, it work together last year. It's just really a matter of will they ever trust the offensive line enough to take some shots?
Hmm.
How are they going to get Trevor really rolling? Because that's really to one thing where it's like the Jags can play at another level, and you
Hmm.
see it. They're just not there yet. So it's
Yeah.
still, the engine's still getting revved up a little bit.
Yeah. And that's the funny part though. We're not even blaming Trevor for it. We're kind of just blaming the kind of the system that he's playing in right now. I remember me and Jeremy, another friend of mine, who keeps saying that they're trying to use Trevor Lawrence more like he's Brock Purdy than the generational quarterback, like or just a guy with all the tools like a Herbert who can just sling the ball whoever deep downfield with, not like with reckless abandon, but kind of just showing confidence. Hey, I know you can make that 20, 30, 40 yard throw. Go ahead and make that throw. But like you said, though, it all goes down to pass protection. Whether Cam Robinson being back either this week against the Bills or next week against the Colts could really set a difference for this Jaguars team for the rest of the season. So we'll see what happens whenever Cam Robinson gets officially activated from the pup list.
Obviously, I'm not the biggest Cam fan on here, but
Mhm.
considering the state of offensive line, it's just offensive line player on the league in general.
Mm-hmm.
Waters. So we'll see how Cam looks. Hopefully, it's not like he did versus Detroit in the preseason game, because that was not great. And
But the Dolphins
hopefully,
game though, a lot better. But yeah, it's you see like the highs and highs, lows and lows of Cam too. He's one of those players that when he's on, he's on. When he's off, oh my god, he's really, really off.
just really, I think the biggest beneficiary will probably just be the run game, because the one thing about Cam is, the pass blocking is always kind of like up and down. But he is a good run blocker, which is kind of
Hmm.
why I want him to play at guard so they can get better on the interior. But that's neither here nor there. But hopefully they're just able to get better explosive runs, and we'll just see how Walker translates that guard. So it's very curious, just how they're going to tweak this offense, especially if they get Zay back,
Hmm.
and just for the long term run, because I don't even want to say I'm worried about the offense. It's more so just,
Can we
I
please just see the offense be what we thought it was going to be?
just even like start to figure out more of the pieces really with the offensive
Hmm.
line, because I think as long as the offensive line can hold up, there's nothing they can't do with the current weapons. It's really just a matter of how they utilize them, right?
Hmm.
Getting players in the right positions. I think they've unlocked Ingram to figure out how to use him to just get Ingram the ball quick. I think he has like the shortest A dot of all tight ends, but because he's so fast, like just get him the ball in space horizontally, let him run, and he'll create after the catch, which is why he's been good. So they figured out Ingram. That's just a matter of like the balance between Ridley and Kirk Zale whenever he gets back,
Hmm.
and just also the running game,
Yeah,
because
they haven't ran really blocked well for ETN to kind of have more of those breakout runs, except for the one in Indianapolis, but still,
even the one that he had a touchdown for really wasn't blocked great. He just
yeah.
created something out of nothing. So, the offensive line, just the run blocking. Because last year, like I want to say the run blocking was a lot better than the pass blocking.
Hmm.
At the very least, they didn't lose. So they, as long as you just don't play like it's the Texans, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, easier said than done though. It's the NFL, so we never know. So we're holding our breath. It's a tough test on Sunday. Will we win? I'm gonna say it now. I think so. I just think too much bullshit again, but
It would
personally, that's way too early to think. We'll probably talk about it more in detail later on this week. It's just, I don't know. I feel confident for whatever reason. It's just, I think things can get, maybe they really did need this trip to get to their heads straight. And, like Trevor said during the press conference after the game, still got to keep working on some stuff. They were still disappointed on the offense, kind of a bit on Sunday. And, well, we just got to see it.
just like trying to see once the offense, just the team as a whole, starts to just get rolling.
Hmm.
Because, with Doug, he's seen it all. He knows that it's not about how you start, it's how you finish. Obviously, you want to get off to a hard start,
Hmm.
but as long as this team can, have even, because obviously last year they, had to end the year hot just to get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
This year, if they could just stay afloat, be close to 500 and then get hot, go on a winning streak, win the division, and then by then everyone's feeling confident. That'd be great. So
Hmm.
that's kind of what I'm just more hoping. Obviously, we'll see how the offense starts to just gel. But as of now, I think that it's still a work in progress.
Hmm.
But I don't think it'll. I don't think it's a season long issue. At least I hope not, because there's just too much talent, and the coaching is they know what to do with these guys for the most part. It's really just, can the O line hold up well enough so that
Hmm.
coaching staff and just Trevor, because I think with Trevor, even like, yesterday's game,
Hmm.
he's gonna have a few shots, like just because he can get away with it.
For sure, for sure. Like he is confident once he gets out of that pocket and making. So yeah, the one positive thing, I don't know how we didn't forget that he's finally made plays with his legs. He got over 40 rushing yards with his legs. He is a very athletic quarterback for a guy who's 6'6", 220 or two, whatever he is. He made plays with his legs. And I know there's a lot of fans like there, especially during his rookie year, that was clamoring for him to just instead of looking for that big play, like 10, 20 down yards down the field, especially if it's like a second and long or first and 10. If you can get those 6, 7, 8 yards on those plays, it'll help the offense such a long way to look out for something, and if he keeps getting those big yardage, linebackers or defensive ends will start kind of containing, and then there'll be another receiver open downfield to use that talented arm that he already has.
I was, we get to see Trevor run, and obviously they don't design a ton of rushes
Hmm.
for him, but they can always go to that in the toolbook when they need to, which I think is a great
Hmm.
thing to have because you don't have to rely on it as a key part of your offense, but at the same time, when you least expect it, it's one of the most dangerous.
Yeah.
It's not like obviously some guys you plan for it anyways, and they're so talented it doesn't matter. Like even Anthony Richardson, who
Hmm.
the Jags tried to stop him from running, but he was still able to get some big runs off because he's the guy. Both Trevor, especially as teams play too high, they're going to, especially when they're in man,
Hmm.
not gonna have a guy for Trevor, and we've seen him be able to create explosives just with his legs. I still remember that run he had when he was in Clemson versus Ohio
Oh, Ohio
State,
State,
the
yeah, for
66
sure.
yard touchdown run. Man, I wanted to see Trevor just house a touchdown run. I know he can do even like a 20-yard touchdown run where he just
Hmm.
gets an angle and just takes to the crib. I know he can do it. That would be amazing. I don't know if
Yeah.
it'll happen soon, but I know he's bound to break one rushing touchdown open eventually in his career just
Hmm.
because he always has that threat. Like, yeah, I'm still also pretty fast
Yeah,
for
I
a guy
think
that just
ESPN did talk about that too, where they want him to, there's analysts that really want him to use athleticism or not just. I know he's not really built in his psyche to like look for the run whenever he has space in the open field, but it's just I get it. You have a God-given arm talent, but you also have wheels that a lot of quarterbacks could envy at your size. So it's just, trying to find a mixture of both. Like you said, it's trying to find the balance for the offense, running, passing, the pass protection, run protection. It's, if Trevor can use his legs a bit more, which, I feel like that could really, really help him in the long run, especially when finding those deep passes that we've been kind of begging for since week one ended.
yeah, even if he doesn't just take away, just being able to scramble a little more,
Hmm.
create out of structure like he did on that first really touchdown, just allowing for guys to get open, I think that will help a lot. And I think one thing I'm hoping they do a little more is just getting Trevor out the pocket because, like you said, when he's out the pocket, he can either take it for some yards, or if somebody's open, he can throw it on the run. So it's not like he can't throw at all.
Hmm.
So my hope is, maybe Doug and Press call some more plays to get him like out on the run more with the ability to take it for some easy yards if nothing's there, or if him being the risk taker he is can get some shots open. So man, we'll see how they use this whole offense. But for now, I guess the one thing about when you play a team like the Bills is you're going to have to score. So if there is a time for this offense to take another step forward, ideally it would be next week.
Yeah. Like I said, though, no Trey White. I know guys like Poyer has been kind of banged up there and then and there. Von Miller might be back, but it's still like, a very, very tough pass rushing group they got to face because they're deep at the edges and they have good interior linemen. So you just got to look out. You got to start fast like you did last week. Try to get to a 2, 3 possession lead if you really can, but it's just so tough to stop or just assume that you're going to stop Josh Allen because he only allowed 9 bars, 6 points when he played him during the Urban Meyer years. Again, Josh Allen versus Josh Allen, number two. So let's see what happens for real. And then anything else you want to talk about in the Jags?
Thoughts on the Toy Story game?
Toy Story highlights. I didn't actually watch a lot of the Toy Story version of the game. I just saw the highlights. I thought they were fun when they figured it out. I heard they were glitching within like the first 3 to 5 minutes of the game, but other they
It
figured it
was a
out. It was
little
pretty fun.
it was a little glitchy and a little bit behind, but I think it was pretty fun. Just I imagine just, it has the one thing like if there is like, I'm gonna have a touchdown as a Toy Story forever. Like that's just going to live on. That's hilarious.
Hmm.
I thought it was I thought it was pretty good. I'm just curious to see when they're gonna do it again. Just animate more things for football because the possibilities for this are endless. So I'm just glad that the Jags won this game because if you lose the Toy Story game, like I do feel a little bit bad for Falcons fans that they have the regional highlights, but they'll just see the Ritter pick six in toy form forever and just have like PTSD. So
Where the Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley play. Yeah. I mean, as a Jags fan, hey, we're undefeated in Indy's room. It's all that matters. Let's go.
got a friend in me.
You got a friend in me.
No, I will say like the touchdown celebration that they did after Darius had that pick six is
Oh
great.
yeah. The Andy's room. Oh yeah, the Andy's coming celebration where they all fell to the floor except for Darius.
Oh,
You
my
love
hat
that.
fell off. That's
Oh
crazy.
no.
I played dead too much, but yeah, that was a great celebration. And then I guess we'll say before, um, Josh Allen is probably gonna get paid. So
To be fair, please. So that's the thing, though. You don't down. I know there's some people that say, "Why do you have to pay him?" He's like sacks for that. But guess what? You do not get rid of guys that are producing already on this team. You just try to build around the good guys on this team if you want to have a good, sustainable football team. Do not overthink it. Pay the man. Just pay Josh Allen whatever you can.
not only in terms of him being a good player, but just where they drafted him, what he's been through,
Hmm.
what he means to the city. I think obviously for Josh, he's seen a lot. So the fact that he's been able to, if he can, produce on winning teams, I think he will be a little. He's like, because he's seen Jacksonville be bad, he knows that the grass isn't green on the other side. So he might be more inclined to stay. So I hope we do keep him. We'll see how everything works out with that. And yeah, I guess Chase on. We'll see if he can get a sack next week. So
No. I'm really like I I I really I want it to happen, but come on, let's just I'm become the realistic one after 4 weeks into a quarter into the season. I'm already
4 weeks and
no.
four pressures.
One sack, which he found like a nut, a blind squirrel finding a nut type of sack. Like I don't know. He took the longest route possible for that sack
I
too.
still don't understand how Patrick Mahomes of all players was the quarterback that he's like one of the players with the lowest sack rates in league history. And Jason, one of his four pressures on the year
He
was a
got
sack versus Mahomes.
I mean, the Chiefs' offensive line has been kind of dog shit the entire year, though, for really being real. Oh, Joanne, I'm sorry that you had to leave and your superpower got found out like 1 week into the season.
I think he's played okay, just been flagged a lot.
Yeah. I mean, though, well, that's not really good if you're getting flagged a lot in the offensive line and allowing the Jets to score 2 points last week, too. But hey,
We have Anton in the third round pick this year, so
hmm.
thanks, Kansas City.
I mean, yeah, and with Anton, though, stepped it up too last week. I'll shout out Anton. The Anton and Scherf didn't allow pressure on that right side for once. So, hey, a lot better showing from the Jags. this last week all around. Just try to put it together and put up a dominant performance one day or another. Please happen soon so I don't have to keep asking for the offense to score more than 30 points a game again. I don't want week one to be the only time.
Just get it to a smooth 24.
I mean, I think
However,
we need to score more than 24 to win than
I mean,
Sunday, to be fair.
maybe, probably, but it's
Yeah,
not impossible. Considering that we held the Chiefs to somehow 17
17.
points,
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's impossible. I
hmm
mean,
It just seems like the type of quarterback that Josh Allen is. We play kind of well against those guys that kind of like breaking out of structure for whatever reason. I know it's because we have just a young, very hungry secondary with guys like Cisco, Tyson, and Darius that kind of want to go for the ball, but then also have linebackers who are very athletic and can kind of just get to the ball whenever, somebody gets it within short to intermediate routes with like a Foye. When we had Lloyd, but not Muma, who's, trying to get better every rep that he gets because, Lloyd has that hand injury. And it's just really all depends if Josh Allen can get pressure again or if anybody else can finally step up. Trayvon. This needs to be a big Trayvon game for any chance for the Jaguars to win on Sunday.
you can say that about a lot of games. I
Yeah.
guess, yeah, one last thing. I know you want to save more of the preview for the next episode.
hmm
Um, but the thing with Josh Allen is that even if he has a good game, because of how our defense forces turnovers and Josh can be turnover prone, that's the one area I'm like, okay, if you can force two turnovers, like one
Two
interception,
more
maybe get
possessions
one.
for the offense. Like, give them as many chances as possible to put up points against this defense because we are going to need it.
We'll talk more about the matchup. I'm really excited to see Tyson versus Diggs, but hey man, we'll see how the cookie crumbles. Next time in London.
For sure. So let's just go on tangents now. Like I said, it's not a Monday. It's not really preview day. This is garbage time. So I guess we'll just talk about I don't know other things. Speaking of Miami, the Marlins, they made it to the postseason for real for the
The
first
fourth
time
time in
ever.
franchise history, baby.
But guess what? We're World Series winners in 2 out of 3, and that third year was the COVID year.
The
So did
third
we
year
really
wasn't the third year does not count.
It's COVID and it was only 60 games. However, how we made that playoffs after like 20 players got COVID, I'll never know. But I will take it. I will still take that postseason, especially because we shat on the Cubs. I don't know why we always shit on the Cubs when it comes to the postseason, especially this year too. But we're here. It's 8 p.m. I don't know how we got here. We're not even gonna have Sadie Alcantara. Like if you told me at the beginning of the year Sadie Alcantara will end the season injured, Yuri Perez is also not gonna be there. Everybody got hurt along the way. But oh yeah, we made a couple smart deadline moves and we're actually a fifth seed in the wild card. It's like, wait, what? How the fuck did we get here?
Phillies don't want us. Phillies don't want smoke.
Exactly. And they lost the season series to us. We got some weird juju over them. They live and die by the long bombs. So let's see if I think it's Jesus Luzardo starting off tonight, which is, a very, very solid pitcher for the Marlins. And it's just to see if the Marlins can hold the Phillies to not having as many home runs as possible, like they love doing, and just having guys like Arise, Jazz, Soler just to get hot early, Jake Berger, Josh Bell. Just, get those batters on Miami early because their starting pitchers in Philly are solid. But once you get to that bullpen, they're not really the best. So it's just trying to make sure you get as many hits and as many runs as possible from the Marlins starting rotation to kind of cook early on.
I'm like a soft core baseball fan, Bozier for the Marlins
hmm
and Ernesty. So we'll see. I need to figure out what Marlins jersey I want to get soon because they
I
have a
don't
lot of
is
nice
it
jerseys. That
hmm
one's obviously fire. They just have just and the logos too. So
hmm
yeah, it's Marlins, and as someone who's worried for the Heat and they've beaten the Sixers, it's always if it's Miami versus Philadelphia, then it's down with Philadelphia. So
for sure. It's just funny whenever Philly teams suffers, but it's just being here in the first place is so wild after just so many years of terrible baseball. Like you said, I'm not even that big. into baseball, but just the fact that the Marlins, a team I chose because I was gifted a shirt when I was like 6 years old because they had similar colors to the Jaguars back in like 2004 when after they won their World Series last. It's like 2003, 2004. Like, oh, they're also black and teal like the Jaguars. I like the Marlins. And then when you watch them on TV, whenever the football's on, you're like, oh, this team is terrible. What happened? And it's like, oh God, why am I suffering? Why are all my teams suffering? But yeah. Marlins, best of luck because we don't expect you to do anything in this postseason. But if you do, we're gonna ride along the way. But
Just a little
also,
scared now.
yeah. But
After
guess
the
what? Oh, but after the which one? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
after the way the Heat's postseason run, where they were an AC that had an unlikely rise to then go to the finals and lose out. If the Marlins lose in the World Series, I legitimately think I will be cursed.
But
So
also think about this: the other South Beach team, the Florida Panthers, had a similar run too.
that
The
and the
Miami Heat.
Panthers,
Yeah, remember they were like seventh or eighth seed.
the
They're like,
Panthers and
yeah.
the Heat literally did the same thing in different sports. They both beat
And now
Boston
the
in a game
Marlins
7 in their
also
own
kind
arena,
of fell
and the
into
Marlins are
are
about to go to
falling
the
in.
playoffs for like their fourth time ever. This they're going to lose in heartbreaking fashion some way, or I'm not looking forward to this because just the way South Florida sports has went this
Mhm.
past year.
I already have to work 6 in the morning already, but I already promised myself I try to watch all 3 hours of Marlins Phillies tonight. So I am gonna be totally locked in. I mean, like I said, I don't want to pay $20 a month for Bali Sports, so I really have watched Marlins super occasionally. Yeah, nobody wants to pay that much for Bali.
Bali's down with Bali sports.
NBA, please take the Magic rights already. I will pay the Orlando Magic directly rather than Bali fucking Sports to watch the games this
Did you say
season.
bulky sports?
The Bali Sports. I mean, we are a Jags podcast, so
We had to
no.
get that run in there.
Exactly. Balky, please trade for edge rusher. Daniel Hunter's right there. If the Vikings somehow keep fucking up games, they have to play the Chiefs next. And I'm pretty sure they
Travis
haven't.
Gibson was unsigned and waived, and the Titans picked him up.
They picked up Arden Key and better Arden Key from just
Their third
they're
and fourth string pass rushers are arguably as better as our second. And then our third pass rusher is Sat Guru.
no, my lord. Please don't remind. We need to trade for an edge rusher for real. Balky, like we did with Ridley, please do something before the deadline because I cannot suffer like this anymore. I need help for Josh Allen. I don't care if Smoot's back. Try to get Javon more inside later in the season, and it will beneficial. It'll be beneficial. I promise. I don't know why I'm talking like this, but I am suffering.
Yeah, that's pretty hilarious. And now,
Oh.
going minor back to football tangent. I do think that I want to see Trevon as a three tech more, especially like because he's just so strong but also quick. I could see him being at least having the traits for a good three technique. So, but yeah, then if they put Trevon inside, then outside of Josh Allen is so.
Or Yasir Abdullah, which I would rather have him try to struggle rookie because we already know what we got in Jason. Fucking dog shit. But
Why do I feel like he's
I'm not
getting a sack?
going.
Why do I feel like he's getting a sack next week? Because of how I feel like he's getting sacked specifically. He's like, "Yep, they doubted me again. I'm gonna get my fifth. He's gonna have five pressures and two sacks versus Pat Mahomes and Josh. Watch him just have like a stupidly low pressure to sack number, like Vic Beasley did that
Mhm.
1 year, and then he ends up getting five sacks on like 12 pressures or some low number. And then some dumb team is like, yep, we're going to pay for five sacks. That team is going to be, just kidding. It's not going to be us.
It's gonna be when you play against like the Steelers or someone with an offensive line that's like not good. I mean, we said that against the Texans, but apparently they're good now.
Well,
I don't
actually,
know how.
I
I
feel a
don't know
lot more
how that happened.
confident about us
Yeah.
beating the Steelers than I do about beating the Texans. So
Again,
the
yeah. Well,
Steelers, I'm like, you know what? As I say that, they'll probably crush us. But
yeah, but Kenny Pickett does not inspire me anymore. So you know what?
I will say, yeah,
Yeah, I
losing
that's
to
way too.
Stroud is a lot better
Why
than
are we
losing.
talking about the Steelers? We're on to Bills. I just like seeing what we've seen though, from like Red
I
Zone or whatever. Yeah.
the Steelers game is important. That's gonna be on my birthday to me. So
Oh hell yeah.
if the Jags win, then I'm already gonna be up. If they lose on my birthday, I'll probably I'll try not to care. But if they win, then just now, just know it'll be turned.
It's
So
funny
I'm
too, because when you had the worst sports week ever, had one of the better ones because the Marlins coached the playoffs, Newcastle won, and the Jaguars won all in the same weekend. So it was like, oh, the fuck? That my all my sports teams and all my fantasy football teams won this week.
I
I'm
went
in
3
like
0 in fantasy, but Fulham lost to Chelsea. So
yeah, well, I mean, you let Mihailo Mudryk score. That's
I
pretty
know
good.
everybody's
Everyone's talking about Mihailo. Bro, Fulham let Mihailo Mudryk. I don't know, man. Y'all might be in the relegation battle after that. It's gonna be tough. When y'all sold Mitro, it's always gonna be an uphill battle from here. Whether Tony Khan and Fulham invests in tied the forwards again and January, that's another question for another day. But yeah, I'm sorry. I just saw the 2 goals in 2 minutes and that Mihailo Mudryk scored. I was like, oh my God, I'm
we
sorry,
beat
Fulham fans.
Chelsea last. I was like, okay, yes, like I
Well, Chelsea's just been a club in turmoil. That's was like a fallen giant basically in the Premier League.
no,
Nothing.
that's why I
Yeah.
was so glad we beat Chelsea last year. It's so
Yeah.
fun to beat like a big bet.
Yeah.
Even when we had a draw versus Arsenal, I was like, you know what? I'm
Especially our
I'm
way away from
I'm
home. That's great. No, that's a fantastic result for any team that's not in
like
the top six.
a draw with Arsenal, but then we let just 2-0 versus. I'd rather lose. Like Chelsea's the one team. I'm like, okay, let's beat them because they're just
Yeah.
like they're
Dog
a fun
shit.
team to make fun of.
Yeah.
But then we let
Yeah, Mihailo Mud, like the one that everyone decides to meme because Chelsea paid like 90 or 80 million for him and he's been had no goals up until fucking yesterday in the Premier League. It was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. At least he wasn't running toward Anthony Robinson's or Jedi Robinson's side. If he scored an American, I would have cried even more. But he didn't score on our side, so that's all that matters. He didn't score on an American.
so Shad Khan is like, Jags. The Jags play better football in London than Fulham did.
Tony Khan was too worried about AEW anyways last
So,
Sunday, so it's
uh,
okay.
at least one of his teams won a football match in London. I will
And
say that.
AEW brought an Edge, WWE Hall of Famer Edge or Adam Copeland, so cons are winning even though that Fulham isn't doing much. So they're still winning on two fronts, even though that Fulham couldn't get a dub against Chelsea at Craven Cottage. And then also tomorrow will be Newcastle's Champions League home debut where I have to play against fucking Kylian Mbappe and
Low key,
PSG.
low
Like,
key.
yeah, that's a game that I get off at work at 2. I'm just gonna be a nervous wreck immediately after I clock out work because at 3 o'clock I'm just gonna be totally locked in. Newcastle will not be without 2 of their best midfielders as well as their best center back and Sven Botman, and then the midfielders Tonali and Jolinton probably will not suit up tomorrow. So Newcastle's gonna have another makeshift squad against, one of the most brand name, Jordan brand names, best player in the world. Yeah. Best player in Europe, Kylian Mbappe, just the biggest test Newcastle has. First game in European football in St. James's Park. First one in Champions League in 20 years. It's just going to be a special, special environment in Newcastle tomorrow. And I can't wait to see if they can get a result tomorrow.
The more I think about it, I know Fulham needs a striker. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just thinking which Jag would be the best. My guess is Ridley because Ridley has very quick feet, so I think he could be
Jack would
good.
be the best striker. Yeah, you
That's
need to
what
have.
they sold Mitro. They need a new striker.
I mean, if you want someone with like size, target man, and mashallah, maybe someone like a Tim Jones would kind of be that guy where you just put a long ball up in the air and then you just have him try to head it in. You just gotta have like a big, tough, physical guy that can just head in goals and just hold it up for other players to get involved.
They're in London this whole week. I'm just saying, maybe they get some practice sessions in.
Yeah, it'd actually be cool if the Jaguars and Fulham did something like that, like a football versus football type of challenge. I think that would be like an awesome video that they could make together. I hope they
That
have
would
time to do that. I'd
that would
watch the
it,
shit out of that.
if they even just made like a training link up, like just they had like the Fulham players, like just try like 7-on-7, and then dude, imagine. I want to see like a Jack's kit now, like just how it would look. Like a teal would actually be really nice to see.
Yeah. I don't think they could because, Fulham's with Adidas. So, Jaguars, NFL's with Nike. So they can't really be doing even though it'd be cool to have like soccer collabs with Nike and, Nike football for, yeah, like add like soccer inspired
I
look
think
for
Just given
NFL
how the
teams.
NFL wants to do like international, I think it would be cool because then you just have fans of both leagues like
Mhm.
watch. So I don't know. I'm just saying, if I'm Goodell, I would get the call in like, hey, we need more promo. Let's
Mhm.
let's get this call in.
Especially the teams in like Germany and England. That would be cool if they had like a soccer kind of like mashup from like, Nike to make football or soccer kits for the teams that are playing in England and Germany this year. That'd be so cool. I think
I
you're
just
right.
I feel like the Jags would have to be like the first team though. Like it's too obvious. Like you can't have the team that's been in London the most years that also has an owner that owns a football club. It's too obvious. I don't know. Maybe I'm just stupid, or maybe everyone else is just missing an easy layup.
I mean, that's
Calvin
the
Ridley,
crazy thing though.
striker.
I think the NFL sold like hockey inspired jerseys for the NFL. Like I remember there's like a Ramsey long sleeve black hockey kind of like hockey fit. And I don't know why they don't do like a soccer shirt or soccer training shirt type of kit for like, NFL teams. You can just use the script logo instead of a sponsor in the front. Got the Nike swoosh, and then you have the team badge, right at the heart, like a regular soccer kit. You're right. It's easy, simple money, and it's like easy $60 for Nike to just pocket.
Chad Khan, if you're here, I know you're a big fan of our pods. You're definitely a fan. Chad Khan, whenever you
Tony,
hear
yeah,
this,
Tony. I know Tony. Come on, Tony. We hear you.
whenever whenever you hear this, you know what to do. But I guess yeah, I
And
love our
throwbacks
dumb
2024
tangents.
as primaries. Just make them the uniforms again next year. I know it. We know we're changing our jerseys next year. Just make the '90s look the primary again, and we'll all be happy. It's like the easy way to print money. You're gonna get the entire city of Jacksonville and the fan base to just buy jerseys like that. Everyone will. I, I know my dad wants one whenever the Jaguars get the throwbacks back. Every long-term Jaguar fans wants, you know, the
Oh,
modern
I'm
or the
getting.
throwback looks to get back
I'm def. I feel like there's no way they don't do it, considering it's the 30th, and
next
this
year.
is also like they're already eligible to change uniforms, but
Hmm.
the fact that it's the 30th, it makes. And the fact that they're plugged in on, and not only they plugged in online as more with the social team,
Hmm.
but even like the recent like modeling that they did was 90s
LaFar,
inspired
yeah.
gear. So
Hmm.
the fact that they did 90s inspired gear, I don't know.
I feel
I
like it is gonna be. Do you think it's a full on press toward that '90s look again, or is it just gonna be a throwback option with another rebrand where they kind of modernize all the looks that they had over the
I
past
guess
years?
this is the latter, because kind of what Tampa did,
Yeah.
where they made their uniforms much close. It's basically the same thing as their 2000s and two ones.
Hmm. When they won the Super Bowl
Modern.
with Brad Johnson and that, superior fucking defense with like Sapp, Brooks, Barber, Lynch, all those guys.
My guess is they just make new uniforms that are like more similar, and then
Hmm.
also have like throwbacks just because why not? So
Yeah. I mean, that throwback will just be like off the shelves. Like if you Fanatics puts that up, every Jaguar fan and their mother, child, grandpa, uncle, aunt, grandma, everyone will just buy that like jersey
you
like
imagine
instantaneously.
game like the throwback game that they have when everyone's in the throwbacks,
Yeah.
hosted in
God.
Daytona Beach, Florida.
No, don't say
Okay,
that.
okay.
But
Now it's
like,
time to end the
no,
pod.
that's way too soon to think
Now it's
about. Yeah.
time to end the pod.
I don't know. To be fair, I would rather prefer Daytona over Gainesville and Orlando. I know you're in Orlando, but
I'd
like,
rather do Daytona too.
yeah, because
Daytona would be
Speedway would be
crazy.
so much. It just they already
The
have
speed,
parking.
the
Yeah,
Speedway is as close. The Speedway would basically be Jacksonville. That's not in Jacksonville.
exactly. And also I can go to Bucky's a lot more too, which is always a dub for my end. I love Bucky's so much.
Oh, I'm very curious, but I we can end on that note now.
Oh boy. I think that is a
Unless
perfectly
there's any
good note.
more tangents you want to go off of.
I mean, NBA Media Day happened. We did, like you said, you
Oh, we
talked
didn't
about
talk
Jimmy.
about Jimmy Butler being emo.
You did it. We did it at all.
Oh, how do we leave out? Shout out Jimmy Butler. Him being emo was how I felt about the pain of not only losing out on Dame, but also then watching him get traded to Milwaukee and then Boston trading. So that's how I feel personally right now.
Jimmy Butler's new hairdo. He'll probably change it. He just wanted to be funny for the
Oh,
day,
he
which is
changed
fair
it
enough. Yeah.
today.
Oh, did
Jimmy's
he?
such a troll.
Let me
I'm
look as emo as possible for media day and
I'm so sad that Jimmy's probably not getting a ring because we're never going to go all in because our owner doesn't want to on luxury tax. Because Jimmy's my favorite player.
hmm
Not even on the court. He's such a troll.
Yeah. What's going on?
I just looked up the email look again. Jimmy's hilarious.
Oh, we see the Marlins have announced their lineup just a couple minutes ago. Let's see it. This is good timing. Come on, phone, load up.
We're rooting for the Marlins tonight. So and also
Absolutely.
well, Rays are also down.
For
So
sure. Exactly. We go for all the Florida teams because we're not as locked in as baseball as we can be, but hey, we're here. We're in the postseason. We're supporting our fellow Floridians. Let me see Martin's lineup. I couldn't load it up on ESPN for whatever reason, but here we go. Arise, Soler, Josh Bell, Jazz Chisholm, Jake Berger, Brian De La Cruz, Jesus Sanchez, John Birdie, Nick Fortes. Solid lineup. I mean, this is basically the lineup they ran all season, the primary lineup. But the fact that Arise is back healthy for the start of the postseason, God bless him because he was hurt, I think, 2 or 3 weeks before the season ended, which really made me have like my heart go to my gut for a chance to get to the postseason. But the fact that they still made it without him being 100%, even better. So we're playing with house money. Let's hope the Marlins can get out of the wild card, and then we have to probably play the Braves. So it's just like, ah, shit. Well, we have to beat them if we want to, like, have a chance. And we never really play well
Marlins
against the
Braves.
Braves.
Yeah, that's the one thing.
That
I
everyone's
just
worried about.
I
We're
just
fine.
remember talking to my brother a lot, and every
Uh-huh.
time they would play the Marlins, he'd be like, "The Braves are just such a really good team." And then this year,
They're
they're
the best team in
probably they're
baseball.
probably yeah, this year the best in baseball. But I still have faith because
Exactly.
whenever the Marlins, because it would be actually incredibly Miami for the Marlins to beat the Braves to then lose in the world, like just getting there,
To the
just
World
like how the
Series. Yeah.
Heat will beat the Celtics in like in a dumb way, the
Or in how
Marlins being the
yeah. And like how the
even the
Panthers
Panthers.
bullshitted their way all the way to the World
So you know what?
yeah, the
If
Stanley
the
Cup.
Marlins like win versus the Phillies, I just have like yeah, like I said, they're going to go
Let's
all the way.
ride, yeah. If we win the wild card, let's ride. We're going all the way. We're going all the way.
Marlins country, let's win.
Oh, I mean, oh man, I don't know. I can't accept more playoff heartbreak 2 times in a whole season. I do want to give my NBA team some shout out too because the Magic. I think it'll be a big year for them. Whether they make the playoffs straight up, I don't know. It just depends how healthy they can be. Markel Fultz, I don't know if you see he finally shaved off the hair. He's back. He's full buzz cut again. Yeah, he finally got rid of the fro, and so he's 100% serious mode this year. So the fact that he can stay healthy, he was getting his jump shot again toward the end of the year. He started making some pull up threes, I think, over the last couple of weeks of the season too. So if he can get that perimeter game going, he's already a tremendous playmaker. Pretty good on those pull up mid range shots. He gets the offense rolling, and especially year 3 in Franz, year 2 of Paolo. I think this Magic team can make some serious noise if they can stay healthy this year.
So I wanted he to trade for Markel because even now like we need a point guard because we have 38-year-old Kyle Lowry who
But the
wants to
thing is, the
start.
Magic, the organization love him so much, it would take a big package to get rid of the Markel
I
Fultz.
think the Magic could use a real veteran leader if they want to get to the playoffs.
We got Joe Ingles, man. That's who he was brought
Somebody
in for.
somebody with championship experience who can really run the offense.
Oh boy,
He's
please
not
don't.
very far away. He's only a trip. I you know what? I will buy a Bright Line ticket now. I will just buy a ticket from Miami to Orlando and put Kyle Lowry on there if I have to.
Oh boy, of course you would. I mean that's.
But
I just am
that
such a. I'm the biggest like Markel Fultz fan in the world. Just the stuff that he went through in Philadelphia to kind of rebound his career in Orlando, to just go through even more perseverance and a lot of setbacks in his NBA career and still be as positive and still be as faithful to the grind as he'd say. Definitely, I don't root for anybody more in this league than Markel Fultz. And I guess the Philly like bullshit as well to like, make fun of him because he was their bust. But I just feel like Philly organization kind of lets down a lot of those players like the Ben Simmons and the Markel Fultz. They haven't really let down Joel Embiid because he's just that good of a talent to not really be let down, but kind of just building that team around him, I guess they would let him down. But I don't know. I just feel like Markel Fultz is just he's just that guy, personally speaking.
Oh, and one last shout out for the Heat since um the one good thing about the Dame trade not happening, which obviously is not good, but
Yeah.
I am excited to see our draft pick from last year, Nikola Jovic, because I even he was like going off in international play for
Hmm.
Serbia, and he's like 6'10", and I've been saying for the longest time the Heat need just a better front court partner for Bam. So that's the one thing I'm just gonna be watching for. I know this team's going to be like close to the play, like they're going to be like a tough team to play regardless. So at this point, I just hope the young players, like especially Jovic, plays a little bit better. So I have something fun to look forward to because there's still some development. And then
Yeah.
obviously Jimmy being trolling, but he's a regular season Jimmy, so he's not going to care. He's literally Jimmy's like the way that he trolls the media is how he trolls in the regular season for like
Hmm.
until like February. So
We're
hopefully,
serious postseason, let's push type of time.
oh,
Yeah.
we'll see. Also, I feel a big year coming from Duncan Robinson because Loki he was better in the playoffs than Strus, but Strus was starting all of last year. But I think that because even the one game we did win in the finals, Duncan played a huge role in that. So just if anybody, any NBA GMs out there, if you need an experienced veteran point guard with championship experience, expiring contract, I know if they really wanted to trade Lowry, they could, but I don't think they are going to try, which is the sad part because his contract is expiring. So
Yeah.
if you even just attach a pick to an expiring contract and then just get two role players from that, that'd be better. But
Yeah. I'm sorry that you feel about that about your backcourt situation. I feel like Orlando just has like a plethora of backcourt options, though. It's just kind of see which ones will kind of figure it out and which ones you're gonna have to try to move later on because you already have so much invested in Markel Fultz. Got Gary Harris, you got Cole Anthony, you got Jalen Suggs, who, another guy who hasn't been healthy, but when he's on the court, defensive stalwart, he'll legit be one of the best defensive guards for this league for many years to come if he just stays healthy. They just drafted Anthony Black with a 6 overall pick, who looks pretty good during summer league. Just Orlando has just a bunch of these pieces that if they can figure out what the rotation looks like and they can finally get off to a hot start, then it matches those front court players with like Franz, Paulo, guys like Wendell Carter, got Mo Wagner, another veteran guy. They added Joe Ingles as well to be that sharpshooter off the bench that they're kind of really missing whenever Gary Harris was hurt last season. So, like I said, it's just all depends about the development of Franz and Paolo, and if they're as good as advertised as we think they can be. Orlando can be that sixth, fifth seed, hell, even a fourth seed if everything goes well, kind of like how Sacramento did last year with the Beam Team rise.
we'll see, man. That's the only thing I'm looking forward to in basketball. So
Yeah. Like I said, I just feel like super optimistic about Orlando, but they always find a way to disappoint somehow. Doesn't help that the Devos family donated like $50,000 in the Orlando Magic's name to Ron DeSantis. I mean, I don't want to get too political, but fuck Ron DeSantis. That's just my take. We're not big Ron DeSantis fans in this podcast, unless you are. Which if you are, I don't know.
if you are, don't tell us about it.
uh, what? Wait, what was that?
Or don't tell us about it.
Yeah, don't because we're not about politics, but I think Ron DeSantis just rubs me the wrong way personally. Such a very creepy guy, I think. I don't know. I can't say shit. We all have our own little weird ways. I don't know. Why did the Magic donate $50,000 in the Magic's name? But if that curses us in the long run, that is what it is. But Javal, thank you for joining us again. Like I said, we went a bit of a tangent. A bunch of sports are underway. It's just one of the best
Yeah,
times of
what's
the
we
year.
talked about basically like every sport except for the NHL. So
Yeah, but they're about to start up too. Like I said, we did. We talked about
we talked about the NFL. We had some NBA talk, some
mhm,
Premier League talk, so like some Premier League talk.
soccer talk in
Look
general
at
because
look at
Newcastle in the
us
Champions League.
look at us branching out. Look at us.
Garbage time. This is the beauty of garbage time, honestly. I could have talked about my trip too on Saturday, but I don't know if it's too appropriate. But
We'll talk
yeah.
about the New Orleans trip once we get back
Yeah.
from that game. That's gonna be. Are we gonna? We're gonna have to do for that game. Like, are we gonna do a live pod
We
like we're
gotta
in New
do what
Orleans?
we just gotta do, like maybe a vlog type of thing. We're just together, just recording whatever we got. I think that'd be pretty sick, and we just cut it up afterwards. I could probably try to cut something up on my phone or try to upload it to my computer. I think that'd be like something completely different for what we usually do.
That's gonna be an amazing episode. Looking forward to that. So
Yeah. We can't really
yeah,
do a preview. We're just gonna have to be in the trenches and the bar gate and then the freaking do the second line like marching stuff. I cannot wait to be in a parade with all of you motherfuckers because holy shit. We don't get nubs to lead the second line that we failed as a as the Bolt City Brigade. We would have failed if Nubs is not leading us in that parade. I will I will do whatever it takes to get Nubs to lead the parade.
if anybody is going to the New Orleans game listening to this,
Hmm.
let us know for any ideas. But I just know looking forward to that. But as always, John, it's been great talking. Jagged Edge. And
Of
if you
course.
tag us on Twitter, no, we are not the actual Jagged Edge because somebody on Twitter tagged us. They
All right,
thought, well,
really?
somebody or X tagged us. Yes, they thought we were the actual Jagged Edge. No, we do not know.
We do not sing.
We do not know where the party's at. Actually, it's going to be in New Orleans, but
Yeah, exactly. That's in 2 weeks. We're on to Buffalo. We're keep overlooking everything. We got to stay focused. I know we got baseball tonight. We got the NBA starting out soon, just in case if everything goes to shit here for the Jaguars, which they will not. Believe me, I have confidence that the offense will figure it out. That's gonna blow up in my face. I already know it by saying that. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. Javal, thank you. If you're still listening to us rambling, thank you as well. We love you, love you, love you
don't know.
very
I don't
much.
know what is wrong with you, but thank you for listening to us ramble. Anyways, we really appreciate you. You should probably go seek help for listening to us this long, but we also appreciate it.
For sure. I get Spy Family back this weekend too. I get my favorite anime currently running back too. So love that.
Also, read Kagurabachi if you got it.
Oh, you gotta send me that. You gotta send me that so I can go start doing something when I'm trying to wait for this thing to upload today. That's actually perfect.
Only 3 chapters long, but it's pretty good. But yeah, and we'll talk. We'll have more tangents for later, or else.
Yeah, we gotta save it for Buffalo. We're rambling and rambling, rambling. But like I said, we're making up for last week not being available just because we were depressed and also we just our schedules did not align up whatsoever since you were back home.
So yes, let's. This is an apology episode for that atrocity that was the Texans game. We made up for it, so we appreciate everybody for listening.
But no more
And to who
makeups. Jaguars, us, we gotta just dominate. We gotta be efficient. We just
don't
gotta
make us be
win
depressed like that, Jags. If there's another play equivalent to
to
the
the fullback
fullback touchdown,
or the
the
Colts game where fucking Tank just stood there. Like that we got those plays. Hopefully we just got those plays out of the way first quarter of the season. We don't need any more of that fucking bullshit. Press Taylor, Doug Peterson, figure it out. Because Trevor, you're the man. You're that guy. We know that. We just gotta hope that everyone else around you kind of just goes up to your level, honestly. That's just how I feel. That's an opinionated Jaguar fan. Love you. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, because yeah, I just happy to be back here. All right, Javal. Hopefully talk to you later on this week. And go Jags.